Hello, I'm Julia. Welcome to Poetry for Humans. This is going to be a little bit of a different video compared to the usual ones where I like to talk of my poetry. But I thought it would be great to discuss some tips that will help with creative flow, particularly with writing. Because how often is it that we end up having writer's block? And it's going to be so frustrating, and I thought it'd be just lovely to share some methods and tips and tricks which I find to be quite useful, and I have other friends of all different creative types that go by these as well. And this doesn't have to just apply to writing, this can be used across the board with other mediums as well. So, how human of us, very human to just have these blockages. Sometimes we feel like that all of our creative energy has just been drained. And I don't know about you, but I find that after I've been in this beautiful, consistent, prolific flow for a while, all of a sudden that's when nothing is there and it's just quite frustrating. So here are some methods that I find helpful, and no AI is necessary. It is purely from the heart and the mind of what it means to be human. So my first tip is what's called automatic writing. And so just as the name suggests, it's when you write on autopilot. So you just put your pen to paper and off you go, or your paintbrush to canvas, whatever the medium it is that you want to use. So the idea here is that you are just letting whatever comes to mind flow through, and there is no expectation for it to make sense, not even for it to be legible. It's just getting all of the juice, so to speak, just to start flowing, because when we experience these blockages, we can feel rigid, we can feel stagnant. And if anything, I implore you to just get as silly goose mode as possible, because we want it to be fun and funny, because that's what's going to help assist in sparking that joy in the process. And this is where creativity can really flourish. And another tip as well, which seems to be difficult to do in this day and age, but is to let ourselves just be bored, not to have any kind of like mental stimulation going around the clock all the time. Like, it's just so peculiar to see people, say for example, who are having a meal but they have to have something that they're watching at the same time. It's like, well, you have to let your brain rest at some point, and just to have that intention just to witness what it is that you're eating as well. But as an example, but also a side note there. But the goal with the automatic writing, I guess, is to have a continuous goal, a perpetual goal, which is just to be. Because in this day and age of becoming and people obsessed with who they are yet to become, we forget just to be, because this is the only moment that we have in this great eternal now. And we want to relish in the delight of creating your art, no matter what that looks like to you. And so when we can do this, it helps us relax into this childlike state, being filled with awe, with wonderment, and even a sense of the whimsical. And this is what's going to help fertilize the garden that is our mind, and then let these things come to fruition, these ideas. They will start to flourish more and more. So if you haven't done this technique before, or maybe you're someone that finds it hard to relax, maybe because you get a bit too self-conscious with the end goal and focusing on what is that going to look like, is it going to be good enough? We want to give ourselves that permission to enjoy the process, not having to worry about what that end goal is. The end goal isn't the point. The point is to just be and feel the creative flow going out into the paper, and just to have fun with it, to seriously just have fun, because we in a world where we are obsessed with everything has to be so serious, everything has to be so mechanical, and we just forget just to let loose, you know? So whatever the reason is for you feeling rigid, just take the time to give yourself that permission to have fun and to enjoy the process without having an end goal. And just as a reminder, again, the goal is the process itself. So knowing this is just one method that can assist you with this form of creativity. And we want to subside this feeling of being stuck and not being good enough. So when you first start automatic writing, it can feel a little bit funny, but the point, again, is just to get that silly gooseness out of you. And so therefore, when it comes time to setting the intention of writing with purpose, you have then given yourself the space to expand into that creativity when you do go to write that poem, write that song, paint that canvas, whatever it looks like for you. So there's another method. This is my personal favourite. It's a little bit surreal, so just bear with me, but it does work a treat. So make sure that you have pen and paper next to your bed, because a lot of the time, at least from my own experience, I find that some of my best works, whether that be poems or artworks, comes to me through the dream state. And so if I'm able to wake up, I can quickly jot them down, because once you wake up properly the next morning, how often is it that we remember all the details of our dreams? And again, if you're anything like me, which is someone that actively has a lot of dreams regularly but tends to forget them the next morning, then this is something to keep building upon. And especially if you are someone who wakes up a lot during the night, use this to your advantage. Just try get yourself to jot down whatever those main points are from your dream, because it's been so raw and surreal and stunning to be able to capture what it is from that unbridled, unfiltered part of our mind and to bring it into reality. So utilize these snooze movies, that's what I like to call dreams, and just get into that stunning flow state with that, because it's just remarkable how often, you know, humans like across the world, across no matter how many different cultures and nations have had these dreams, so these paintings come to fruition through the dream state. You know, there's that untapped, or this, so the tapped unconscious part of us that is connected like a big web. And another thing on that note, kind of like a side note, but it's all tied in together, is if you go and look up how one can strengthen the muscle that is the mind with lucid dreaming, that's a whole other level. There's a lot of scientific studies showing the benefits of lucid dreaming because it strengthens the grey matter of the brain, the neuroplasticity. There have been reports of athletes who have gone to strengthen that part of the mind by lucid dreaming. So then they can do whatever workouts or whatever exercises it is that they need to do in that dream, and then they find that in the waking world the muscles are recovering better. So again, the mind is a lot more powerful than what we can perhaps even conceive. And so in saying this, just as a reminder, like if you do have the ability just to wake yourself up just enough to write down those points from your dream, it will be surreal. And if I do say so myself, just from my own experience, some of my best works have been through this state, in that raw, surreal, artistic avenue where my eyes are half masked and I'm barely conscious, but I'm still able to just push myself to write down whatever has been going on in that state. Another method is just to practice writing about anything and everything. And while this can seem obvious, a lot of people tend to struggle to practice the very thing it is that they want to get good at. But baby, that's the only way you're going to be able to strengthen that muscle. And so it doesn't matter how many times a topic has been written about. That shouldn't be any reason to not write about it. You're not here to compare yourself to other people. If you find something curious or intriguing to write about, then just go for it. Because I've had many conversations with people who have shown interest in wanting to write more poetry, lyrics, or whatever it may be. But then they get overwhelmed because there are a plethora of works out there that have already covered, well, basically every single topic I guess we could think of. But the thing is, in the most loving way possible, who cares? Who cares if that theme or topic has been covered a multitude of times? Because that isn't the point. The point is that if there is something that invokes a spark of curiosity, joy, malaise, yearning, intrigue in you, no matter what the emotion is, that is the point of writing in the first place. And it doesn't matter that there are millions of poems that are covering the topic of unrequited love or the silky smooth rose petal that is the blush of your muse's cheek. The fact is that it hasn't been written by you in your wording, through your lived experience, your flow of intention. So if something invokes anything in you, especially if it's this continuous love and zest for life and wanting to create, then that is every reason to create it. And this is what we need to remember. We must remember that we're not here to compare ourselves with whatever it is that we're creating. Even if you're in a competition, so to speak, where there are criteria there, the point is that you are putting yourself out there and you are creating something for you, for humanity. And so we want to get into the practice of letting the stunning ray of creative potential flow through you and out onto your paper, out onto the canvas, the photograph, whatever the medium is for you. And yeah, sure, like we can get option paralysis sometimes because there are so many things that we could write about, but when we can refine it down to a striking phrase that we've heard throughout the day, or even going online and looking up what is word of the day and then basing your poem around that, these are just some ways that you can get some practice in. And when we write about abstract thought, or perhaps even themes that we can find challenging to speak about to our family, to our friends, whoever, this actually allows us to have a breather, because the mind can go a million miles an hour. So regurgitating it out through the mouth can be so overwhelming because there's not much distance between the mind and the mouth, is there? It just kind of, it just kind of gets regurgitated. But when we allow ourselves to write, there is a lot more distance for the thought to travel, and then we can write it out. So this gives us some more clarity and intention when we are getting the thoughts out onto the page. So I guess the main takeaway is to not fret about whether you're just starting out or if you're a seasoned poet or creative of any kind, because the only real reason that you need to create is that you are here now, alive with burning eyes, breathing, and no one can do a better job at being you than you. And so that is every reason to start creating whatever it is that is on the heart or mind. And it is a very human thing to fall into the traps of self-doubt, self-depreciation tendencies, because we can set such high standards for ourselves that they're actually unrealistic. And then we can fall into these pedantic perfectionist traps because we are wanting to refine back and ensure that what we are creating, putting out there is so fine and polished. But that's a trap in and of itself, because you're technically never starting. You're not actually putting yourself out there. It doesn't matter that it's not polished up. It's just to get it out there, get into that flow state. You can always tweak the details and polish it up as you go along or later, but it's just, I don't want to say it's a waste of time, but there's a lot of time that is utilized in that perfectionist headspace. So ultimately, as artists, as humans, we must remember to find the beauty in the everyday and to be awed by it, because no matter how simplistic or small it may seem, there is beauty in everything if you have the eyes to witness it. And there is a saying as well, how it describes when one can see so much to appreciate in their everyday life, life will then give you more to appreciate. And this is the same perspective. And by no means is it to reject the larger, amazing things that can happen in our world. Of course, they're all exciting as well. But it's to ensure that we are not negating the things around us that we need to be able to delight in, to relish in, to see the beauty in. So therefore, we're not taking for granted what it is that we have right in front of us, what we have within ourselves. And so the mission, at least I feel, of the poet is to romanticize every day, to evoke deep meaning in ourselves, in the world around us, and using our stunning artistic language which touches the soul and heart, again, of ourselves and everyone around us. So let us continue to use this healing tool, this art form, to inspire fellow humans and to inspire ourselves to embrace the beauty in every single day and to not take this life for granted. So I hope you found this helpful. Please let me know if you use the methods, and please share any other methods that you have when it comes to the writing block or creative block, and keep on creating.